equivalent fractions. Now, if you notice this picture over here to the right, I have 2/3 and I have 2/3 written right here. There's an important note. Whatever you do to the numerator, you have to do to the denominator, or whatever you do to the denominator, you have to do to the numerator. So basically, I'm going to start off by showing that I'm using the visual here. So I'm going to take this and not my best work, but I'm going to cut it in half there. So it went from 2/3, all right, but now I'm going to show you what I did. Basically what I did, I multiplied the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2, and that equals 4/6. Notice the amount shaded in green, it did not increase, it did not decrease, it stayed the same. All I did, I took each one of those pieces and cut it in half, okay? So now 2/3 is equal to 4/6, and if I multiply 4/6 by 2, what I do to one, I gotta do to the other. So since I'm multiplying the numerator by 2, I have to multiply the denominator by 2, and then that would equal 8/12. So 2/3 is equal to 4/6. 2/3 is also equal to 8/12, and that's what this would look like visually. Right? I cut it in half there, cut it in half there, and cut it in half there. Now if you look at it, I have 8 shaded in sections, okay? And bear with me, each one of these should be of equal size, but I'm human. Out of the 12 total sections, okay? Remember, the denominator is how many pieces it takes to make the whole, and the numerator is how many pieces we are describing. All right, so the key is what we did to one, we have to do to the other. Now notice also with this 2/3, okay, I could have just multiplied the numerator by 4 and the denominator by 4, and that would have given me 8/12. So we don't always have to do by 2. We could multiply it by any number that we wanted, okay? So here, and even if I go again by 2, times 2, times 2. Remember, what we do to the top, we got to do to the bottom. What we do to the bottom, we got to do to the top, okay? So 8 times 2 equals 16. 12 times 2 equals 24. All right, so then if I cut them in half again. And notice through all these, the amount that's shaded in green does not change, okay? So the total amount I'm describing didn't change. I'm just breaking them into smaller pieces. So that also means that 2/3 would equal 16/24. All right, so that's a quick example of just making them grow through equivalent fractions through multiplication. You can also do it through division. Now I'm not going to draw a picture for this. I'm actually going to switch to red just so you know that I'm talking about a different problem here. So say I have 8/10. All right. Now, like I said, what I do to one, I got to do to the other. And I showed you with multiplication, but I can also divide. So if I find all of the factors for 8, and the factors for 8, okay, would be 1, 2, 4, 8, and the factors for 10, okay, 1, 2, 5, 10. And if you're not sure how to find factors, I do have a video on finding factors. And here I'm going to take a common factor, okay? In this case, there's only one common factor, so that would make it, well, 2 common factors, 1 and 2. So 2 would be what we would call my greatest common factor. Greatest common factor, my GCF. So I'm going to divide them both by 2, okay? So 8 divided by 2 would equal 4, okay? And 10 divided by 2 would equal 5. So That means that 4/5 is equal to 8/10. And notice I could multiply them both by 2, and it would get me back to the 8/10. Okay, so here I can multiply by 2 again, and that would give me 16/20. All right, all of these are different ways to find equivalent fractions. I'm going to show you one more thing here with equivalent fractions, and we'll just kind of do it up here at the top. Say I have 6/8, all right, and I want to find what would be equivalent to, we'll say 16, and then we don't know what goes up here, so I'm just going to put a little box. All right, well, I'd say to myself, what do I need to do to this 8 to get it to equal 16? And I'd say, you know what? I believe I'd multiply that by 2. And I'd be like, 8 times 2 equals 16. I'd be like, yep, that's right. And then I'd say, well, since I did it to one, I gotta do it to the other. So then I'd multiply the 6 times 2. 6 times 2 would equal 12. So 6/8 equals 12/16. And that is an overview of equivalent fractions.